nyamiri, nyamiri, Coco nyamiri, nyamiri, Coco nyamiri, nyamiri, Coco nyamiri, nyamiri, Ibole, Ibole, Ibobono, Ndamamihe, Ibole, Ibole, Ibobono, Ndamamihe, Ebulianyelu, 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 Anamabarana, Ihe Dunjo, Manimezi, Koyoteke, Anamabarano, Ihe Dunjo.
And why? What's the problem?
Okay, Udo, so Udo, no wayo, so chukwu no eba. Okay, Udo, so Udo, no wayo, so chukwu no eba. Perfect peace, only peace. Be still, for only God is here. Perfect peace, only peace. Be still, for only God is here. Yagazie.
Dewo Yagazie, you debage.
No. Ebe mmadụ abụọ na-akọ abụọ zukọrọ. Chineke na ebe ahụ. Where more than two people are gathered, God is there. So I am so grateful and thankful that I've seen another day. Every day above ground is a good day. So let's rejoice that we're still alive and blessed and how you say, poised to conquer the day.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another live show, Chiism Live. I'm Dr. Wanyo. I'm one of your co-hosts, and it is indeed a pleasure to have you here today. As is usual, in addition, the first thing that we have to do is pour libations. Libations is very critical. For those of you who don't know what libation is, it is our form of communion with the Most High, Chineke. Now, every organization in the world, every church has their own way of having libations with Chineke. I'm going to ask each one of you to please, and I've asked you before to get some kind of contraption. In my case, I use this bowl. Isn't that beautiful? I use this to pour my libations. And then, of course, we have this cup for the container of the water. And if you don't have yours already, please take the time and find yours so that we can pour libations. Remember, when we pour libations, we're going to be remembering your family members, all the individuals in your life that you find you consider important. We're going to be pouring libations to in their honor. We're going to pour libations in honor of even you, because someday the aspiration, of course, will always be that you become an ancestor. So as we pour libations today, please take the time and go and get what you need so that you can join me in this libations exercise. I don't like to always do it by myself, In other words, I don't want you to stare at me as I pour libations. I want you to be a part of it. Hold 1 second, please. Thank you over there. Thank you so much. So anyway, let me just say that this service is dedicated to the memory of our father, Abaja, Ahaikeo Keonyoha, and Nyoha Funkuru, Chief Ngozi Onyoha. We'll always love you, our dear parents, and of course we love and honor all of our ancestors, our personal ancestors and your ancestors, your own personal ancestors out there. So today, let us first and foremost, God, we say thank you to you. And we call you the tall Iroko tree that gives light and provides shade to all humanity. He said, we give thanks. Thank you for the breath we have. May we not cease breathing because we have so much to do. We know that breathing is a blessing, and we know that there are some people who are not breathing today. So for that gift of life, and we say thank you. We give thanks for all our limbs, that we are able to use for walking, for doing work. We know that so many people are crippled today. So I need to Chineke. We give thanks for family, for the strength and companionship that they give us. So when we have family, we have to be very grateful, and we thank Chineke for the gift of family. We give thanks for all our ancestors, wherever they may hail, east, west, north, or south. We give thanks to them because if it's not for them, we're nothing. It's because of them that we are here. So Chineke, we say thank you so very much for the wonderful gift of our ancestors, giving us life and leading us, hopefully continuing to watch over us. We give thanks to for children yet unborn, those on their way, those that are not even conceived yet. We give thanks because we know they'll come, and let them be the ones to lead the way. And may we do the right things so that when they do come here, they have a foundation to work with. Chineke. Chineke ana adago biko. Ndị niile nwụrụ na ha dị waka erugu 80. Ana asigi biko Chineke. Those who have gone on before they achieved the right old age of 80, when they come back, may their journey towards reincarnation be smooth. And when they get here, may they find a life so much better than what they left. Somebody say, Obasi delu, aina sege, biko, kusa induri he, ki hon bula ni like baturaka tobru so mama. Kuwani lesinaka ni we hui. Let every way of our lives be light and all our eyes be crowned with good. Let the world prosper because of us, because we lived. Let our lives be worth something. Thank you, Chineke, for even putting us here. But we want you to make sure to guide us so that our life is not just inhaling and exhaling, but we leave something remarkable for other people to remember. Somebody say, he say. And our own shine, we call upon our ancestors. You call your ancestors, those who died at the ripe old age of 80. Not the ones on the journey, but the ones that have already made it, and now we, according to our culture, believe that they are honorable ancestors. Dr. Martin Luther King, well, Dr. King didn't make it to be 80, but Madiba of South Africa, Julius Nyerere, Dr. Namdia Kiwe. And I will just call out all your ancestors as well. May they continue to protect and guide us wherever they are. And at this time, I'm going to pour 3 more in honor of whatever names you call out there. And those that we don't know, we still honor and respect them. Though we may not know them, don't want to leave anybody behind. We say, or for Jagazi. And then I would like us to make some noise for our ancestors. I'm making noise for my ancestors, and I hope you make that noise for your own ancestors. And so it is, and so it is. And then I want you 5 times to call out your name so that in the future, people will call your name because you lived. And of course, we ask God to grant you, as Chineke, to grant you 80 years, so that then you are no longer on the journey. You would have achieved ancestorhood, so that we can call upon you for you to continue to be protective and a guide for your whole family. And so it is. Ise, Ashe, Yagazie. And that is libations for today. And I am so glad to have you all here. Now, what we're going to do now is we are going to have the lesson. We're going to have a lesson, the first lesson. I think this is the first lesson. And the first lesson, I just want to tell you what the first lesson is. This is very important. And it was based on something that I read that I thought this was very important to talk about. Hapu Unere. Unere is banana. Let go of the banana. What does it mean to let go of the banana? Often we hold on to things that we think are important in our lives. We just hold on to it. We don't know when to go. And sometimes life reminds us that we need to let go of certain things. So this message is for those who believe that either wealth is the solution to every problem or needs of life, and those who never get enough. Leaving the world is a big accident. This is a quotation by Anonymous. But we don't know when, how, and where we're going to leave this earth. So some of these things we're holding on to. Let it go. And I'll tell you what letting go of the banana, the story about the monkey and the banana, okay, and how relevant that is to our lives. But there are some other, in our spirituality, there is a tendency to remind us to keep your fist closed only when you're going into battle. You know, when you have your fist like that, that's when you're going into battle. Otherwise, let it be free. Open your hands so that you can receive the blessings of the universe. And your mind may also be considered a closed fist. If you're intolerant, if you're racist, if you cannot be helpful to those who are vulnerable, your mind could also be a closed fist. You have to open up to receive. So we say, Hapu Unere. Let go of the banana. Open your heart and allow your hands to direct the energy of goodness your way and release from it the trap. See, we set traps for ourselves unconsciously. We set traps for ourselves. What are these traps? Oppression, hatred, jealousy, greed, false assumptions. Hapu Unere. Today, I hope that you will let go of some of those things, but let me tell you why. Let me give you some examples of some false assumptions and greed. Some of you may have read this, but I found it very fascinating when I got this information. I thought, oh, how relative it is to what I was going to talk about today, the reality of living life. There are some false assumptions about certainty. Many of us just believe, you know, we can do all these things that we do, and then for some reason, we are either going to, things will just work our way just because we believe it. It doesn't matter what things we do. We just assume things will just go a certain way for us. But life is full of uncertainty. No, it doesn't. And some things that you hold dear may actually end up being your doom. There is an African song that says, "Ihe na-atọ onye ndụ ụtọ, n'ezie, nke ahụ ga-erikwa ndụ ya." Some of the things that you hold dear and you think about and you love, those things may kill you because you have this certainty, these false assumptions of certainty that these things that you're holding on to will be good for you, whereas they may actually be a trap that you're setting for yourself. Let me tell you this story about the man, the richest man in Lebanon. I hope I pronounce his name well. Some of you may have heard this story. Emil al-Bustani. Emil al-Bustani, I think that's how it's pronounced. He built a grave for himself in a beautiful area on the coast of Beirut. He wanted to be buried in this grave after his death. Meanwhile, he had his own luxury yacht. But while on a cruise, one day the yacht exploded and sunk with him into the sea. After spending millions of dollars, the boat was found, but without his remains. In effect, he couldn't be buried in the exquisite tomb he built for himself. See, he didn't understand life. He thought by building that tomb, when he dies, they're just going to put him there. That's a false assumption about life, about certainty, that this is the way things will go. It doesn't always work the way we think it would. It doesn't always work that way. So some of these false assumptions we have, we need to let go, because you don't know where and how your life will end. So some of these things we spend millions of dollars, time, investment. It may not go that way. That's part of what it means to let the bananas go. It may not go as you want. Here's another false assumption about privacy. I just want to be on my own. I don't want to be bothered. I just want people to leave me alone. I don't go and visit people. I don't want to be connected with people. It's a false assumption about privacy. What do I mean by that? One of Britain's wealthiest men was a Jew named Rod Tischler. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. He was so rich that sometimes the government borrowed from him. He has set aside a room in his magnificent palace to keep his wealth. The room was always full of money and jewelry. One day he entered the room and accidentally shut the door behind him. This door could only open from the outside and never inside. He started shouting, but no one could hear his voice because of the landmass of the palace. Meanwhile, he used to be someone who would be absent from home for weeks without notifying anyone. I don't want anybody to know where I'm going. It's my business. He doesn't even tell his family. His family members don't always know where he goes. That's a false assumption that when something goes right, ultimately the family will be there. In effect, no one bothered to search for him because that was he had the tendency of being gone for so long and not telling anybody. So when he was missing, nobody, thought it was any big deal. They thought he must have gone somewhere as usual. But he was still locked in the room while he kept on screaming until he felt very hungry and thirsty. He thus injured his finger, and with the blood gushing out from the wound, he wrote on the room wall, "The richest man in the world dying of hunger and thirst." He eventually died, but his body wasn't discovered until several weeks later. So it's okay for you to have your privacy, but it's a false assumption that you're always going to be where people will find you if something goes wrong. You have to be in touch with family that love you, family that care about you, or even friends. It doesn't make sense to just disappear and just assume. Maybe because you're rich and I don't know what your excuse may be, you just don't want to be bothered with people. At least find some key people and let them know where you're going. It's a false assumption. You're holding on to that banana, that false assumption that if anything goes wrong, they'll discover where I am. So greed is also the matter of unere, the banana. It has to do with the monkey. The monkey is an expert climber who does not need anyone to feed it bananas. Quite frankly, it can go get its own bananas. It can climb a banana tree and get loads for himself. However, he was eating too many of this particular farmer's banana. The farmer finally set a trap for him. He hung the biggest banana fruit on the tip of the branch away from the rest of the bananas. The monkey sought to retrieve this one banana. Once he got to it and grabbed it, he held onto it, even though the banana branch was starting to break. But he held onto it. Below there were jagged rocks that this farmer has set for this monkey, knowing that greed would make him want that particular big and ripe banana. But he held on to that banana, even though he could have just let that go, climb back to the tree and get as much as he wanted. But no, he had to have that one. He couldn't let that one banana go. Whereas he had plenty he could have. But he thought he could grab it and go back to the banana trunk. But unfortunately, it broke and the monkey fell to its death. When it's time to go, nothing can stop death. hold on to the, don't hold on to the banana. In effect, as much as possible, don't allow greed to cause your death, because greed will do that. Many of us will do anything for money. You guys know that. People can do all kinds of things just to get money, just to be like the Joneses, to drive the fastest cars, to live in the biggest houses. That is the banana that we hold on to, that greed. You have to let go of the banana, such as the oppression, oppressing other people, hatred for other people, jealousy, false assumptions, greed. Let go. Do not oppress anyone, do not hate anyone, and do not hurt anyone's heart. Let go of the banana. Hapu Unere. And that is my presentation today. And I would like to bring in my co-host, and so he can share his thought.
Yeah, that's a beautiful lecture. As a matter of fact, that's really the crux of life, right? Being able to have enough courage to change, to drop these things, things that are detrimental to your well-being, both physically and mentally. Nothing in the universe can stop you from letting go and starting over, right? The only limitations that you have as a human being are usually those that you place on yourselves. Now, there are situations that can be beyond your control, societal situations that, can be beyond your control, that may stifle or limit your ability to change like the chameleon. But that's what life is all about. You have to be able to adapt, right? And not letting go of the banana, means that your capacity to adapt to life changes, is very minimal, right? Courage is the power to let go of something that is familiar to you. So life really requires a lot of courage to live it, right? You have to be able to adapt to changing situations, because in life, things will change. Things usually don't go according to how you planned it. You have to be able to change as you move along, right? It's sort of like having what we call agile mentality. In technology, I'm in technology, in the technology field. It's like project management using the agile methodology, specifically what we call Scrum, right? When you're designing, and your modus operandi is to be able to adjust to changing situations, maybe budgetary concerns while you're going through a project. Maybe a team member suddenly drops out of it, so that minimizes your ability to function, at full capacity, or whatever changes may happen. Maybe along the way, the project goals change, and then you have to adapt on the fly. You have to apply that to your life as opposed to being water stream, right? Where you plan something, you budget for it, and this is expected results as long as everything go according to plan. Like Dibias was talking about, the wealthy person that built a tomb and then ends up dying and not buried there because he was lost. So his methodology was a waterfall: planning it, budget, death at the end, and getting buried. And he expected that that's how his life is going to go up until death. And then come to find out it didn't go that way. So that was a waste of time. And there was no way to be able to adjust to something that was already designed and put forth the way he expected it. Life changed on him. And because life changed on him, that was really a waste of resources and money that could have been used to do something else, right? So that was a good example, that Dibias had given. In Nigeria, in Nkporo, in the Igbo tribe, we have a saying that Echi di ime, tomorrow is pregnant, right? Tomorrow is full of surprises, expectations. You can't see tomorrow. You can't tell what is going on tomorrow. So you have to be able to live in such a way that you make accommodations for any surprises that may come your way. I think the only thing that we know that is guaranteed in life is death. Even birth is not guaranteed. You could be pregnant, and next thing you know, you lose a child in pregnancy. So birth never happened. You know, seeds that are planted in the ground never germinate sometimes, right? So there could be extenuating. Of course, there are extenuating circumstances why the pregnancy was terminated and didn't go to full term, or that the seed that was put in the ground didn't come up. It could be because there was not rain, the soil is not fertile enough, or any number of extenuating circumstances that may have caused the seed not to germinate and grow. Okay, so the only thing we know that is certain is that if if you're born, you're gonna die. And even if you are not born, there's still death. There's conception, as long as a seed exists. You cannot hold on to bad habits that get in the way of your success, or get in the way of you doing the right thing, being good to your fellow human being, being Chineke to your fellow human being, where all Chineke's blessings flow through somebody. There are certain habits that we have that feels good momentarily. It feels good. But letting go of those habits, like people on drugs, or people that drink a lot, or people that smoke, or whatever, those things that give you this temporarily good feeling, but ultimately it's really bad for your health, for you, that will spell your doom down the line. You need to be able to figure out how to get rid of those bad habits. Love and hate. You could love so much that the love becomes detrimental to you. You cannot love something that don't belong to you, specifically a person. If you give all you can give to somebody and they're not giving it back, you have to have enough courage to let go of the banana. Loving may feel good to you, but it's detrimental if they're not loving you back. Same thing goes with hate. Hating is terrible. The end result of hate is death in all kinds of ways. Relationship death, spiritual death, physical death. Hatred is terrible. It's the opposite of love. So it cannot be good. Now, there are situations where people might say that hatred is a defense mechanism based on your environment or what you are going through that causes you to hate. I mean, I wouldn't blame the Jew that was interned in a Nazi camp in World War II from hating the German if the Jew is watching his or her fellow Jews being exterminated. There's no love your neighbor as you love yourself. So even hate can be applied in a certain way to ensure your own survival. You have to hate something enough for you to be able to do harm to it in order for you to survive. You can't do harm, for the most part, to something that you love. So there's a balance in life on all levels, but you have to know when to let go hate if it is detrimental to you, your fellow human, and your environment. Racism is another form of hate. You got to let go of that stuff. It rumples social harmony. It does not create an avenue of love for anything else other than oneself or one's race. Even the lion in the Serengeti doesn't hate the leopard, doesn't hate most of the animals, except for the hyena. Why? Because they're competitors when it comes to food. But the world has a lot of abundance, and as long as we mind our own borders and understand that every living human has a purpose. The only animal that I know that may hate, but when you look at the underlying reason why it's under, attack, is the antelope under attack from a lion or a leopard or a hyena or a myriad of carnivores that have to eat the antelope to survive. For the antelope, there's no love lost between the antelope and the lion. That's on the surface. But behind that, if the antelope is reasoning on a spiritual level, the antelope might say, I hate the lion. I may fall victim to the lion eating me, but by the lion eating me, it maintains a balance in the population of the antelope so that we don't overrun the Serengeti and eat all the grass and still end up dying because there's nothing to eat. So not only does the antelope nourish the lion, but it's also great for population control of the antelope. So life is how you make of it and how you see it. You get my drift? Greed. Okay, Dibias, Dr. Owa Osimiri talked about it. Greed is a terrible thing. It's just as bad as hate. It's as bad as racism. If you're a greedy person, a lot of times, for example, people that do drugs, look at what's happening in Mexico with the drug cartels and all of that. Greed is responsible for it. And because of this greed, a lot of people die on a daily basis to satisfy the greed of the drug cartels. Nothing good ever comes out of greed. Maybe you're greedy because you want all the women to yourself. Maybe because you're greedy because you want all the power to yourself. Maybe because you're greedy because you want people to adore you based on threats. Not because you deserve being adored, but because you're just hungry to be adored and worshipped like a god. Maybe because you want to own everything, houses, cars, all that stuff. But nothing good ever comes out of greed except people suffering so that you could satisfy your urge to own it all, to have it all. If you're greedy, you have to let go. Fear. Without courage, you cannot grow. What are you afraid of? I'm not even afraid of dying because it's part of life. You're going to die one day. All I ask for is to live beyond the age of 80. And if I get to be 100, that's just an icing on the cake. So I could become an ancestor. So I could see my grandchildren, perhaps great-grand and great-great-grandchildren before death gets to me. But bottom line is, it's coming sooner or later, but hopefully later. Self-doubt. Doubting yourself, going through life as a bear, as opposed to being bullish on life. Taking risks, having the courage to take risks. The higher the risks, the higher the reward. The lower the risk, the less reward that you're going to get in life. Stop being too comfortable. Being comfortable. Stop being comfortable. Being comfortable. Take planned risks, calculated risks. That's what life is all about. When Martin Luther King, even though he paid dearly with his life, stood up and marched. Some of the rights that we enjoy here in the United States today was based on his courage and the courage of those people that embraced what he was talking about. Rosa Parks got off the, refused to give up a seat. It took courage to do that. Be courageous in everything you do. Be very courageous. And finally, stop being reckless. This idea of being satisfied temporarily and not worrying about what's going to happen down the line, let go of that banana of recklessness. Yes. Be agile in your existence. Be able to adapt as the a situation changes. Live a life where you can adapt to the situation. That gives you a more wholesome life, makes you feel better about yourself, about people around you. Give people the benefit of the doubt when necessary, and only deal with people based on how they treat you. Let go of the banana, because if you don't, your life will pretty much not be worth living. I will never turn out the way you planned it.
You say, that is so true. I'd like to really, really thank you for your commentary about this, because it's so important for people to know that, life is not just something that we can just take for granted. There are some rules and regulations out there that ultimately is going to affect you, whether you're ready or not. So you need to at least, so those things that are not important, let them go. It's not easy. It's not easy. Anybody can tell you it's not easy letting go. I'm going to bring in Dibias for the next commentary about what we talked about. Dibias, I know you're having, I'm also having problems with internet here because it's pouring rain. The weather is bad. And I know that you're having well. So
same thing here.
Yes.
First and foremost, I can as a Dibia. I hope I'm loud and clear. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay, because the rain is pouring like a river here. Well, my little thought before the line begins to break. Hapu Unere. I look at it as something that concerns us Black people of this age. We are so confused, and we have forgotten our past, we have forgotten our foundation, and we are pursuing after crass matter. We are going after wealth. We are trying to build the world, live in a world that is not our own. We try to ride the vast. If you look at the people who want to buy the fastest cars, the best cars, we are looking for the best home. We want to be divas, promoting a kind of false life. It's all about us. If you see someone who is buying a watch 2 million naira, or a necklace, or that is worth $20 million, well, it's a Black man. Now, that's because we have decided to forego one simple principle, that we should not let our greed becloud our vision. And so that particular adage is referring to one or people who have lost focus, who have no vision, people who are at the crossroad, who are scampering for anything. They want to belong. People who are inauthentic, people who live life for feature. And here I may bring in a little bit of Christianity here, because a lot of us know about the Bible. And what will come to our mind here is the temptation. After baptism, what faced Jesus Christ was temptation. And he faced 3 kinds of temptation. One was that after fasting for 40 days, then he should turn stone to bread. And he responded that one should live by the word of God and not by bread alone. Now, the word of God is not the Bible. The word of God is that which makes us to excel, to transcend, to surmount vicissitudes. And for us to do that, we have to be focused. We don't have to be distracted. We don't have to make money or material things our focus. Then the second temptation was that he should tempt his God. So a lot of us are by falling from the high mountain to the ground. The angels are there at his service. And he said, well, you don't tempt your God. So a lot of us go after vainglory. We boast a lot. We boast of what we cannot do, and we begin to belong. We want to belong. Even things that are not our own by right, we want to go after them. And along the line, we get distracted. And when we get distracted, we lose focus. And instead of us to retract our footsteps, we want to persist on that wrong direction. And of course, if we face the wrong direction, we will never get to our destination. Then the last temptation was to tempt him with power. Bow to my feet, and I will make you king of the world. And that's what most of us run after: vainglory. We run after things that are not beneficial to us. We want to conquer the world, and in conquering the world, we want to go alone. And yes, if we want to go alone, we go fast, but we cannot go far when we go alone. And that resonates with the story you told about the richest man one time who locked himself up and was always going alone. And by the time he needed people, nobody was there to save him. So he had to die of hunger and thirst. That also resonates with the story of a man who always deceived the villagers, that the lion was always around. They say, oh, that the lion is around and the people will run to go and save him. So the day the lion came and he called on the people say, well, he's fond of joking of the lion, so let's leave him. And that's how the lion ate him up. Now, so this speaks more to us Black people. Our problem today is that we live a life of forfeiture. We don't want to be ourselves. We're ashamed of who we are. We go after what is not our own. We are not self-reliant. And we are always trying to live a borrowed life. And until we ask ourselves certain questions, first and foremost, assess our situation and see how the world sees us. The truth of the matter is that the world sees us as slaves. And we always react emotionally. We are not slaves, but that is not how to react. The best way to react is to call ourselves and address ourselves. What are we? What do we say that we are? And if we say what we are, then we should define what we are. But what does the word say we are? Then we now begin to define who we want to be. That was the kind of crossroad that Moses was in, brought up in the house of Pharaoh, but had a Jewish blood. So at a time, he had to face the crossroad of a burning bush that was not burning. That means he was on fire at the crossroad. And he had to remove his shoes, remove his foundation. That's the foundation of he had to call himself a Jew. I am that I am. He is a Jew. So we have to dress ourselves as Africans. Who are we? We are what we are. We are Africans. And when we come back to Africa, who are we? We have to define who we are, accept it, identify who we are. We have to solve the problem of identity. Until we solve that, then we can forgo all the vainglory. We can focus on where the direction we want to go. And then consistently, from generation to generation, we'll climb the ladder upwards. Until we do that, just like the monkey, we keep being trapped and keep being trapped and keep being trapped, and we keep losing. That's my little take. Thank you.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. You know, one of the things that everybody does know it. I know it, you all know it. It's very difficult to let go. But there are some exercises that we do that we could incorporate in letting go of these particular things that we talked about, greed and all of that sort of thing. You know, every summer or every spring, depending on they call it spring cleaning. You know, we clean out our closets. We decide what we don't want. You know, we clean out the shoes. We know the shoes. We even pack some of them and take them to Salvation Army. We know what we don't want, so we clean that out. Well, it may not be such a bad idea, you know, if we do that kind of cleaning for certain things that we do, for personal behaviors, our thoughts, our attitudes, you know, our behaviors, our emotions, those sort of things, we could actually do the same thing and start cleaning it out. You know, anytime that anything has happened to you and you feel that, you know, you don't want to be there, maybe it's time to clean out. It could be something that's caused you bad emotions. You may want to clean out behaviors, whatever, you know. So it's a good thing to spend a lot of time, you know, clearing out the closet, so to speak, the darkness, the minefields of our minds, and get rid of those things that don't belong. We keep it consciously, but unconsciously, we actually clean ourselves. Okay, so it is so important that yes, hold on to what you will, but do for banana. You know, like we said, Hapu Unere, throw it away. Those things that don't belong in your life, let it go. I'm going to bring in Dr. Monet, Dibia Monet. Dibia Monet, how are you?
Oh, very good. How are you?
Very well. We are talking about letting go of those things that don't work. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that is very important because when we're holding on to that, we're holding on to a lot of weight in our life. A lot of times we can't accomplish the things that we want to accomplish in life because we're holding on to things that does not serve us. We're holding on to things that are in the past. We may be even holding on to some other people's things. For instance, there may be, you may be the type of person where all of your friends call you about their problems. And, I've heard of the word energy vampires, but that's real. When we're talking about energy and people coming and they're kind of pulling on you and taking your energy and then dumping you with all of the weight that they have, all of the problems that they have. And then when you get off the phone or, you may have had dinner with them or whatever, they're feeling great and you're, tired and drained, so we must release that and we must be able to protect ourselves from that. And so in many different ways. And we must also practice not being so offended. Sometimes, when we're so offended, we become offended. And with being offended, that carries weight. Some things we just have to let go. We just have to let it, if it's not a big deal, if it's not hurting us, it may have felt offensive at the time, but we must just, get over it for our own well-being. Because, we have to look at our spiritual well-being. And with our spiritual well-being, we cannot hold on to things because it affects our life. And that energy, that thing can be affecting our life. Those things that we're holding on to, not could be, a lot of times they are affecting our life and even our well-being. Those can be attached. With me, part of my gift as far as my intuition is I can see where people are holding certain emotions. And a lot of times where they're holding that emotion is attached to a physical organ, or it's attached to dis-ease that they're having in their body. For instance, a person, could be holding anger in their pancreas. And a lot of times when I see that, I'll ask them, are you having challenges with diabetes or are you borderline diabetes? And a lot of times they are, because they're holding that anger that they have held, just holding on to it for so long, opposed to letting it go. We have to just let it go. Sometimes our pride gets in the way and we don't want to let things go because of our pride, but it's hurting us. It's not hurting that other person. Whatever that person have done or whatever incidents has happened, a lot of times they've gotten over it, but we haven't gotten over it. We're still holding on to it. And one way that that you're holding on to those things, you're holding on to things that may have happened in your life, or you may be holding on to someone else's things, is you'll continually get those thoughts over and over again throughout your mind. The thought processes, you'll be just, maybe walking down the street or you're doing a whole nother activity. And, those memories of an unpleasant event, or those memories of what your friend may have told you about something that was a little disturbing, they keep coming up in your mind. That means that you are still holding on. They're still inside of you. And so you must dissociate. And here at Chiism, your excellency has so many things, and the other Dibias have so many things, traditional methods to release those things. So we must use those methods. We must use those things. We must also work with our ancestors. I shouldn't say I forgot, but I would like to thank the ancestors and also Chineke for this information that is coming forth today. And so we must use all of the tools that we're learning here to make sure that we're not holding on to anything, because it's not worth it. Put our pride aside. Allow ourselves to just, to just live, to just let go, stop holding on. And so I think that we'll have our total holistic well-being will be a lot better if we are able to do that.
Yes. Thank you. I think we're gonna take a quick break and just listen to music. That's one of the things, that's one of the things I really wish that because like in Nigeria, for instance, there's a lot of drumming, a lot of music and singing, but when you have this virtual environment, it's kind of difficult to even sing in unison because one voice goes this way, the other voice goes the other way. But then thank God for a little bit of creativity. So I'm going to play this music and just take the time and enjoy the visuals and the music itself, the drumming. And we'll be right back. You caught me dancing. I was busy singing along with the music.
I stopped dancing just right before we all showed up on the screen. I mean, I was just, what I'm saying? I was just moving down the flow, letting it roll.
You guys, just want to remind you, and I'm going to send it out to you. We have if it's not going to work for you, it's in July. We're supposed to have a retreat. If that July is not going to work, then we'll do it in August. It's up to you. But we're going to have some music and all that stuff there. But anyway, I just thought it was important to give it a break a little bit. But let me ask you this question. People hold on to stuff until something happens. I want each three of you to give me some of the examples of what may cause people to let go. What are some of the things that happen to us in life? And then it's like a bulb goes off. You say, it's time to let it go. What are some of those things? I'll start with you, UD.
Well, this is how do you say when you have been socialized into thinking a certain way and being in a certain environment and watching people not practicing what they preach, at some point you say to yourself, you know, what they talk about, particularly, you know, from the podium from the pulpit every Sunday, is not gelling with what is being practiced in real life. You know, the preacher is not having an affair with Mr. Johnson's wife, for example. And then you say to yourself, no, something ain't right over here. How come they tell me that I have to give to the poor, but then when I go to give to the poor, the preacher tells me, no, you give to the church. Then we give to the poor. You know, why is the preacher asking me to help him buy a $50 million jet to fly around the world and do what?
And go lead the poor people.
Yeah. When people do not practice what they preach, some people tend to look back and say, you know, I think I've been backing up the wrong tree. What is being preached is not being practiced. I think I need to look for something else that satisfies my spirit. And then maybe for the first time in their lives, they start to do some introspection, start to look at spirituality from their own perspective, in such a way that it satisfies their heart, their minds, in terms of their relationship with Chineke, their relationship with their fellow human beings. You know, if you look at some of the people that have joined us on our show, you know, since the inception of ChiismLive, you will find out that a lot of them have similar stories. What they see out there in the pulpit is not gelling with what is being practiced in the real world. And I just wanted to touch something right quick. Okay, I mean, Dibias Chidozie, Dr. Chidozie talked about it. We have to let go of this idea that we as African people, don't have a primordial spirituality, that there's something evil about our culture. And that perception became a reality for us because we were colonized. We've been colonized because of slavery, because somebody changed the name from Kunta Kinte to Toby. We went from Ngozi to Blessing. We started to adopt somebody else's definition of what our spiritual life should be like. We started to justify existence by standards that are not of our own choosing. And quite frankly, that is the reason why African communities all over the world, Jamaicans, African Americans, the Africans in the motherlands, Africans in Europe, what have you. This is why we can't seem to get it together politically, economically, and what have you. In almost every aspect of human endeavor, we've been resocialized to believe that there's nothing, how do I say, spiritually satisfying about being African. I mean, I was African in everything that I did before the European and the Arab came to my shore with the Bible and the Quran. I have talked about it. We've always talked about it. Dr. Dibias Chidozie talked about it again this morning when he was talking about Hapu Unere, letting go of the banana. If there's something that we have to let go as Africans and have the courage to do it and wait for the lightning bolt to come from heavens and strike us dead, and if that doesn't happen, then it is tantamount to what the preacher is preaching in the pulpit and the reality of what you experience in life, and see if both of them gel. The reason why we're not competitive, we haven't been competitive in the 20th century, we're not competitive in the 21st century, is because we haven't let go the banana of a colonized mind. Very important. And I think I need to stress this over and over and over. The banana that we have to collectively let go as people of African ancestry, it's foreign religion. I'm just calling it like it is. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, whatever. All of them have cultural identifying mechanisms in them. Ahai said that when the Europeans' existence is threatened, they rally around Christianism. When the well-being and welfare of the Arab is threatened, they rally around Islam. When the well-being of the people in India is threatened, they rally around Hinduism and Sikhism. It's their cultural religion. Japanese rally around Sikhism. Chinese, Shintoism. Chinese people rally around, Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. All culturally relevant, all part of their spiritual culture. But when the well-being of the Africans is threatened, what do we rally around? We don't rally around anything authentically African. We don't rally around Chiism or Orumila or whatever African spirituality exists out there that we could articulate that we could use to articulate our collective frustrations. Instead, we rally around those spirituality, foreign religions that justified our colonization and enslavement in the first place.
We are ashamed, UD. We are so ashamed of ourselves.
Banana that people of African ancestry really have to get rid of. There's something in life called courage, and I think that courage is probably the most important commodity that you must have as a human being. The spiritual impact of being a courageous person cannot be underqualified. It is everything in life. Courage to be married, courage to build a business, courage to question. Let me say it again. Courage to question. Courage to not live anywhere unknown. Courage to stick your head above the crowd and say, here I am. Courage to change. Everything in life requires courage. The baby that took the first step needed to be courageous enough to stand up and take the step. Courage is everything. And we, as people of African ancestry, have not demonstrated courage to leave those religious doctrines that justified our enslavement in the first place. We have exhibited some courage in the past, like Nzinga that fought the Portuguese, the woman king in East Africa, like the Martin Luther Kings and the Rosa Parks and the Harriet Tubmans and the Nelson Mandelas, the Ahai KOKs, the Patrice Lumumbas, all those people that had the courage to fight the enslaver and fight the colonizer.
Yes.
We have demonstrated that courage in the past, but today we seem to behave like those people are not part of our ancestry. Like those people did not give us or exhibit a courageous existence and say, I am what I am by the grace of the Almighty Chineke. And if you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. Because I've never questioned your existence. I've never questioned your culture. I've never questioned your God-given right to exist as a European, as an Asian, or what have you. Don't question mine.
But isn't it all about, it's also about the fear of the super, whoever we call it, superpower, and what they're going to come and do to you. If you speak your mind, and if you have a particular thought that's contradictory to theirs, they're coming after you. So don't speak now. Don't say anything, because you remember many years ago, they took this person out. This is one of the things that keeps us from moving forward. The fear. You can't say what needs to be said because you're afraid. But then the people you're afraid of are people coming into your land, your home, to take your things. But they don't want you to say anything about what they're doing. You're so fearful. So fearful. So let me, Yudi, thank you so much. Let me go to Chiadozie. Theaters
He's
is
having
having
challenges, I think.
okay.
Dibia Monet comes back in.
Dibia Monet, speak on, and you covered quite a bit of that. That is what keeps us from not letting go of the banana. What are some of those things that will force us, that do force us in life to let go? What are some of those things? I'm just going to say this. And for the most part, when we're mad at people, when they've done something really maddening to us, when their intent is to hurt us, and they do these things, we're so full of anger and hatred for them. We don't want anything to do with them. Well, you may not want anything to do with them, which is fine, because I have some individuals I want nothing to do with them. But we should not hold on to the banana. We should not hold on to the hate. We should not hold on to things that dispirit us. Forgive them, in other words. Forgive them so you can forgive yourself. Forgive them enough for you to let them go, so they're not occupying your mind anymore. That's what I mean by forgiving. If somebody continues to occupy your mind because you're thinking about them and all the stuff they did, then you're holding on to that banana. Forgive them to the extent that now you can move on with your life. You don't have to think about them anymore, and you don't feel guilty. You don't feel guilty letting them go. It's okay. Have a good life. But don't hold on to the hate because of what they did. That's what kills you when you think about it. You can be mad, you can be angry about it, but you can kind of let that go for your own well-being. Just let them be.
Absolutely.
Because you find people have a nature. There's a nature of things for some people that just that way there's nothing you can do. So you being mad is not going to change them. You being angry and you being remorseful, it's not going to change them. So for your own well-being, let the banana go. Let them go. Don't think about them. Don't be mad at them. Let them live their lives, and you live yours as well. Go ahead on.
And I would like to, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, Your Excellency. And I just wanted to speak also about Dibia Yudi and what he said. He had some great points with the challenges in us, and we're looking at letting go on an institutional level or even a religious level.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people that are in Christianity, because Christianity here is the main religion, or even Islam. There's people that are in these, or any belief system, I'll say that just to make it, across the board, that are holding on to those belief systems. They're holding on to those religions, and they do not believe in them. And they're holding on to them because, okay, this is something, what will my family think? What will my, what will my friends think? If I tell people, just like me going to the job, and you tell people you're not a Christian, you don't go to a church as they know it, what will they think about me? And the thing is, we must have more integrity with ourselves, because if it is in us, Chineke is trying to relate to us that is not our path. And so we have to let go of those religions. This is a hard conversation for a lot of people. It was a hard conversation for me because, quite frankly, I was taught so much fear when it came to Christianity that I would burn in hell if I wasn't a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So that was real fear that I had. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to someone that is outside of that. But for someone that was born into that, and since the time you can remember, you were told you would burn in hell for the rest of eternity. If you were not following this Christian path, this European path. And so when you you have that, it's hard to let go. But then also, you have to know what you're sacrificing, because what is happening is you're sacrificing yourself. Yes. The worst person to be out of integrity with is yourself.
Yes.
If you're going to church every Sunday, you're going to the mosque, you're going to whatever religious institution that you're going to, and you don't believe in it, You don't believe it.
Yes.
You are out of integrity with yourself. You know, so you must, and especially us as African people. I know I talk to so many different African Americans that has relayed to me that, you know, they don't know the alternative. What is the alternative? But the alternative is coming on to platforms like this, you know, and learning about your actual, the God of your ancestors, or the practices of your ancestors.
Yes.
But a lot of them are on that fence because, you know, they don't really believe in what they're practicing. They don't believe in it. But for anyone that is out there that is on the fence and you don't believe in what you're practicing, what I tell you is to let it go. Let it go. I know someone needs to hear that. Let it go. If it's Islam, you don't believe in it. Let it go. If it's Christianity, you don't believe in it. Let it go and deal with whatever consequences that your mind may be making up. Let that go. Let all of it go. You have to put yourself first and say, I'm going to stay in integrity with myself. I'm going to stay in integrity for me with not only myself, my ancestors. I'm going to stay in integrity with Chineke, or some people may say God. I'm going to stay in integrity. You know, and not practice something, not pretending that I'm something that I'm not, and let it go, because it will eat you alive.
Yes.
It causes so many issues in your life. And for people who have children, what are you teaching your children when you are out of integrity with yourself and practicing something that you don't believe in? You know, so we need to let those things go. I agree with Dibias Uncle Yudi. I agree with him, and we have to look at this, especially as African people, in a religious sense, or an institutional sense. You know, we have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And even as the people, I'll you know, put one more thing on the table that we do as a lot of people. I mean, as African people, we will throw each other under the bus. We will become out of integrity with our fellow Africans so that we get ahead, and we're pleasing. It's still the pleasing master type of concept. You know, you'll work a job and you'll have your brother or your sister over there working. They're doing their job. You'll give your brother and sister a hard time to show master that you have them in line. To say, okay, if I treat them bad, then what my boss will see. I'm just like you. I'm not on their side. I'm not on the side of my people. I'm on your side. And this happens over and over again. I know people can relate to that.
Yes.
You know, we are the hardest on ourselves.
Yes.
I remember working a job, you know, I worked for the government, the state. So the whole state would get off. I worked in the predominantly African, you know, offices. They wouldn't let the offices that were probably like about 98% African American or Black. They wouldn't give us, if there was a snow day, if there was, the lights went off, they would make us take our time. The only people in the state that were required to do that. And it was our people that were in leadership. Nowhere in the state that they would do that. But because we still in the mindset of showing master that we are on master's side, we want to crack the whip against each other. We need to allow that mindset to go. And we need to know that we can come together as a community and that we can create our own, that we do not have to be under that, we do not have to bow to master. We don't have to do that anymore. And so we have to stop these behaviors. We have to let those behaviors go. On an institutional level, on a religious level, we need to let it go. It is not serving us.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I just want to add this little story. This is Chinese story about letting go. Why it's so important to let go. They had a small animal that put food in this enclosure, and the enclosure has a little hole. And if that animal picks the food that's on the other side, okay, that will force it to clench its fist, okay? But if with a clenched fist, it cannot come back out, okay? So it will get stuck, right? So the animal picked up the food, just like our monkey, but didn't let go. Because the fist is balled, it can't pull itself out until it was captured, okay? So that is just the bottom line. If you are not going to make a change, you become extremely vulnerable, right? Because you're not really, when you don't let go, you're not thinking on your own for the most part. Invariably, what you're doing is you are creating an environment that will have, or a situation that ultimately will be your downfall. All right. Now, what one of the things I learned in psychology is about attachment. For the most part, the reason why people fail to let go, particularly as it pertains to other people, is because of their attachment, the history behind the relationship. Maybe like these people who attend these churches, it's because they have a long-term relationship with the churches. Maybe they have family friends who are connected to this family and friends who are connected to these churches. Maybe they are friends with the pastor. All those things. It causes a problem for them psychologically to let go. So it's not so much that they don't know that some of these things that they're doing is not true. It's just that it's so difficult for them to let such a stronghold of belief system go because it's attached to people they know. Okay, it's attached to people that they see every Sunday, no matter how crazy what they are talking about, but they go there because that's where they see the people that matter to them. So for anybody to go anywhere, for anybody to make a decision to let go, they have to make a decision for themselves, knowing, look, okay, I love you guys, but I'm not growing. This relationship is not helping me grow. Yeah, it keeps me with you. I know it's always important to remember as you're trying to move to the next level that those individuals who you trust will be the very people that will cut you down. Okay, they want to hold on to you because the new you that's emerging is going to leave them behind. So they don't want to support you. They don't want you to move forward. They need you right where they are, if particularly they don't know how to move. But then the problem becomes yours. The problem is not theirs. But you don't know what to, you can't talk about what other people are doing to you when you allow it to be done. But therein lies the difficulty, letting go. So it's an exercise, it's a difficult exercise that they must do. Once you realize, that, okay, you've learned some things from the world that you were raised in. You've learned from others, and you learned what you know because of your life experiences. But then at some point, you have to adapt. Dibias, you said it earlier. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to break the strings. Like they say that, you break your mother's apron away from the mother's apron strings. There are some people who like to hang around. They like to hang around mom and dad and everything they're familiar with, even when they're grown, but it does restrict their development. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Sometimes it just takes one thing to happen, like the death of somebody that you care about. And you realize that, oh my goodness, I've hung around so much now. This person that had been my comfort zone, the person is gone. What do I do? That sometimes will force you to realize it's time to make a change, because more and more people you care about, they may leave you. So you got to make a change. You got to be prepared. If you're not prepared, maybe you have some people who are responsible for feeding you and doing all that sort of thing. You don't want to let go. But when that person leaves you, then you realize, oh my God, I've got to do something. And that is why some of these women whose husbands were the sole breadwinners and they never worked and all of that, they are devastated when their husbands pass away. You see, because that was their comfort zone. And even if they were being abused in the relationship, well, there was still comfort there because they paid the bills and all that stuff. So they stayed there. And then when the person leaves, then wow, your life just is torn apart. So that attachment is very difficult. So you need to prepare for detachment. What if? Learn the word. What if? What if will help you to move forward? What if this person is no longer here? What will happen if I don't believe this anymore? Am I going to die because I don't believe in all these things? If you know within your heart, these stories that you're hearing are wrong, they are false, they're not good for you, then it's time for you to move forward. Better awareness would serve you better than sticking to something you know, just like Dr. Monet said, that you know doesn't work for you. And once you get to be an adult, you know it's not working. But like I said earlier, it's really, quite frankly, the attachment to others that just makes this very difficult for some people to go. So anyway, the banana, you got to go. You got to let it go. It's very difficult to do, but it's something that you have to do. So anyway, see, Chiadozie, with us, he's been having some challenges and give him, oh, there he is. Okay. Why am I not able to bring him in? But something's in my way. Okay, let's see. Well, I don't know about you guys. You know, one of the things that I keep suffering from is these pop-ups. I don't know if it happens to you, but it's ridiculous all of a sudden. It doesn't matter what I put in place. Those pop-ups just keep popping in. Anyway, Dibia Chedos here. Your thoughts? You want to add anything to anything more to our conversation? There you go. All right. Dibia Chedos, go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're good.
Okay, the network is very terrible here. I am not sure if I'm still following because most of the time, except for Ezewine, for both Dibia Ude and Dibias Simone, your voices are so muffled that I can't hear anything you were saying. So I'm wondering if the same thing is happening with my line.
No, we could hear you.
No,
right?
we're hearing you.
Okay, if you can hear me, I don't, let me just add one or two things on the Hapu Unere. You see, it's a very, very wonderful thing. I don't even know how.
We lost him again.
Yeah,
he was just getting good too.
Yeah, let me make some points while we're trying to get him in. When he comes in, so that way we don't have this law waiting on him to come in. When he comes in, when I'm done, then we could get him back. Beyond the Hapu Unere, you know, let the banana go. I just always wonder, do we really want to change anything?
One second.
Okay, here he is. Let's try him again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on, Dibia. Dibia Chedozie, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was wondering, how do you get some of these things? Anyway, that's why you are as a Dibia, as the wine Dibia. And I thank you for this topic so much because it's one that speaks to one's life personally and the life of our people, generally as Black people. We have never been so confused in our life like we are today. And we don't even know that we are suffering. We don't even realize our status because we are all, most of us, over 95% of us are busy running after vainglory. The greatest craze on ground is everybody wants to scamper away, and the slang for it is japa. And part of all this is that instead of us to think about how to remain here, fix this place, we are all thinking of running away. And we are busy beefing ourselves. You'll find ethnic rivalry. One ethnic group thinks it's better off than the other one, especially when someone from part of your tribe is in power, you begin to show off. And when we get to, for instance, inflation, it doesn't make discrimination amongst the tribes. When we get
well, here we go again. He's having an issue.
Go ahead.
Anyway, let me go ahead with what I was
thoughts.
saying till he gets
Even
back.
if he comes back, I'll let you finish your thought.
I always wonder, do we of African ancestry really want change? Do we really want to progress? Do we really understand what it's going to take to progress? Are we thinking from a macro perspective or a micro perspective? What do I mean by macro? Macro perspective is, are we thinking about the general opulence of people of African ancestry globally? Are we thinking of the African community globally? Or are we just thinking about our own personal mobility, whatever that may involve or whatever that may entail? Do we really understand what it's going to take to quote unquote overcome? Is that a general objective of people of African ancestry? Or do we make it a micro prospect, either for your tribe, either for your family, either for you personally, and be damned what happens to the rest of the African community globally? Is it just for people in Africa, in the motherland, to be successful, and damn the diasporan Africans? Or is it for the diasporan Africans to be successful, and damn the Africans in the motherland? What exactly are we looking for? What do we want? Do we understand the importance of cultural and economic revitalization of the global African community? Do we understand what it's going to take to make that happen? We're not going to get this information in schools. Our schools are infected with foreign ideology, foreign systems, and foreign way of doing business that works for the foreigner and impugns us and keeps us destitute. Where do we start this change? This is really a very important question to ask. We all talk about we shall overcome, the white man does this, the Chinese is doing this to us, blah, 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 blah. But do we really want change? Or are we such victims of Stockholm syndrome that will continue to glorify those philosophies and cultures that continues to keep us down? What do we understand about cultural consistency? What is cultural consistency? Cultural consistency pretty much deals with you understanding the contributions that your ancestors made to civilized behavior. What do we know about our ancestors? Do we really want to change? Do we really want good for the global African community? Or are we just so defeated, so full of lack of courage to jettison the ideologies and philosophies that enslaved us, colonized us, and has kept us destitute for centuries? Do we have the courage to be like the snake, shed the skin so that you can grow, you could become fresh? What is it? I mean, I look all over the place and everybody's complaining about what is being done to us and the leadership. If you're not complaining about the European or the Arab, then you're complaining about our own leadership that are taking their cue from those foreign agencies whose business is to keep us down. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Now, you don't want P2B to talk about economic revitalization of Nigerians, because if he talks about it, he's going to be killed. He is courageous enough to talk about it, and if he needs to if he has to give up the ghost, let him give up the ghost. Martin Luther King gave up the ghost. Nelson Mandela gave up 30 years in jail. Patrice Lumumba gave up the ghost. Nkrumah was exiled. Everybody that did something for people of African ancestry gave up something. Ahine was marginalized, one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met in my life. He understood the assignment. We have no courage courage. You're going to die one day anyway. You might as well die for something.
Yes.
We are on this platform. There are a lot of people that are probably upset. The powers to be are probably upset because we're on this platform. But do you think that we're going to fold just because people don't like me? I don't want to be a victim, or should I say, I just don't want to be held hostage by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to socialize, the need to belong somewhere. I don't need to belong anywhere. The only thing that I belong to is the idea that we must emancipate the African, and that takes courage. And for me to do it, I have to let go the banana that says that if I continue to shout from the rooftops for my people, that I might die. If that's what it's going to entail for me to be successful and impart the knowledge so that people can understand what it takes to be emancipated, I am willing to die. Are you willing to do that?
Oh my goodness! Yes. Let me say this to you. There is it's a documentary that I was watching about how one buffalo defeated 12 lions. One buffalo. When they're doing, they have that horn, and the tip is extremely harsh, sharp. But for the most part, when they work as a group, if one takes off and starts to run, everybody runs. Hear what I'm saying? When one buffalo decides to run, the rest of them just run. So the lions know that. Just give chase and they'll run, and then they'll leave the weakest one behind. And then the lions will take that. But this particular time, this buffalo had a little one. Okay? To protect the little one, she wasn't running nowhere. She said, I'm going to die for my time.
Yes.
You're not eating her up. You're not. She's not going to be your meal today. 12 lions. He realized that he had a weapon. And that weapon was his horns. And he was flinging lions everywhere. One buffalo. The rest had already taken off. When they realized the sister wasn't running, what happened? All of them turned back around and started doing what she was doing. Everybody had their horns prepared, and they were just flinging lions everywhere. So for us, sometimes Igbo people say, you don't chew with all the teeth in your mouth. Sometimes it takes just the one tooth or two to start grinding the food for the rest of them to join. But you can't say, because I can't chew with all my teeth, then I can't do anything. Start chewing.
Yeah.
Start it. Be the one to let the banana go. And maybe everyone else will say, okay, well, if you could let it go, well, maybe I can too. And the story I'm trying to tell you about this buffalo, the calf lived, but she was willing to give her life in spite of 12 lions. But then when everybody wakes up, when everybody turned around, the lions knew the joke is over. They all started running because the horns were just flinging every lion everywhere. They found their strength. We need to find our strength. Chineke gave us the strength. We got it. What is it when we say monachiso? I am one with God. If you say that, that means you have holy boldness.
Yes.
You have the ultimate warrior soldier on your side. But do you know that? When, like Dibias, you just said, when we say people that have the courage shouldn't say anything because somebody may come after, they're going to come after you anyway.
Yep.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how good you are. People die every day for being good, for just being good, for minding their own business. And then the criminals running wild.
Yeah.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But you can't focus on what's going to happen to you. Always focus in your mind. Look, I am one with Chineke. So what am I afraid of? This is the thing we all know about death. It's gonna come.
All day long.
The stories that I told you earlier, it comes when you least expect it. You don't know. No matter how much you cower in the closet, it may be a scorpion in that closet that'll take your life. When it's time, it's time. But you can live in fear.
Yes.
Some of us, as we get older, we think, well, we're too old. You know, we can't do nothing. You know, I just want to just sit in my rocker and just rock my life. No, age has nothing to do with you becoming conscious. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be wiser as you get older. And we need to teach our children how to be wise. We can't cower. You can't shrink into greatness. So fear, we must let go. Age is just a number. Continue to do what you must do, because if you don't do it, who will? Now, you were asking, why can't we come together? Well, I think the important thing is not how many of us come together, is which one of us is willing to start. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just start. Start with your household. What are you teaching your household? What are you telling them about being powerful? What are you teaching them about having a thought and going after it? Having a belief system? What are you teaching them? It starts within the home. Beauty and power. It starts from within and then it goes outside. You can't be weak within and think you'll have power out there. So if your family is intact, if the power in your family is working, you will have the courage to go out there. So, Chidozie, I'll give you another chance because you can't continue.
Let me just say this before I'm cut off again. One thing that just came to my mind is that this dangling of the banana, like dangling of carrot to us, the black race, one of the ways to do this to us is aids, foreign aids. IMF, World Bank, Paris Club, and the so-called education. If you watch all the XY colonial masters, when their presidents visit us, Macron, whether it's Cameron or John Major, whoever, they keep emphasizing education, education. They tell us education, education, but they never define this education. They just keep saying education. And each time they say education, they tell us, oh, for us to measure up in the universities, we have to have a bio lab, we have to have a language lab, we have to have a lab for digital humanities, a lab for that. And then they sponsor that. Even African studies are studied here. We study.
Oh, we've lost him.
Yeah, the weather there is terrible.
I'm gonna take a quick break and give him an opportunity to come in.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to add Chidozie. Listen, people, we need to stop hate. We need to practice love. We need to, and the love of self, that is very important. And the love of our humanity. You can love humanity and love yourself too. You can love yourself and love humanity. So Dibias Chidozie, you're back in. I had to play that, give you a chance to come back in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that they keep telling us education, and they never tell us which kind of education we need. But they know the kind of education they give to us is just a white-collar education, education oriented towards Europe, which will never make us independent, which will never address the fundamental problem of ours, that of identity. And so at the end of the day, they give us AIDS, and this money ends up in Europe, and whatever is left here, our own leaders pack and put in their personal accounts in Europe. And so the equipment we buy, the books we buy, everything we order come from a particular part of Europe. So the same money they give to us end up in Europe. So it's a question that we have to disentangle ourselves from these banana. This banana does not make us feel self-reliant. And we think that it's going for more AIDS and more AIDS and more AIDS. Everything we have to run to Europe. And that is where your message is very cogent, very, very target. Hapu Unere. We should learn, like the monkey that was trapped with that big banana. They keep trapping us with this big banana of AIDS, of education, Western style of life. We have to disentangle ourselves from that. If we don't, we will not be able to gather force to move forward. We have to, like all of you have argued, that we have to come back to ourselves and ask ourselves, what is our position in life, in this world? How do we move forward? If we don't do this as a nation, we just want to belong. When they're playing World Cup, we want to emotionally participate in World Cup, we want to emotionally participate in Olympics, we want to emotionally participate in all parts of the world. Every treaty we sign without knowing why we are signing, we just want to belong. You know, with all these, you just discover that we are playing like monkeys. And monkeys will never be human beings. So until we call ourselves mother human beings, because human beings, because one thing human beings do is to retrace their steps when things are not working. But we don't seem to be doing that. We're seeing, just like you said, the monkeying around, jumping after banana and banana and banana. We have to retrace our steps from that.
Yes. You know what I recommend? I think we need to have, Chiism needs to have the family conference. Think about what I'm saying. I said it earlier. It's going to start from the family out. We educate our families. We see how many of our families are actually, what are they believing and what do they need to modify? Give them information. I went to a conference one time. It was a religious conference. They invited me to come and speak. And they had all these families there, and they're talking about their Christianity, right? And that's how it's spreading. So we need to host Chiis family conferences where we can bring families together and see what is it we're teaching the children, or as a collective, since we want to do some things collectively. What do we need to do to practice from family to family? Remember, the nation is made up of families, not individuals. So if you want to change the nation, change the way the family thinks. Change the way the family should go. You can feed them all kinds of things, but they can grasp it individually. But when the family is grasping it, then that means Theodore's son is going to teach his own children that, and his daughter will teach his own children, and it just spreads like that generationally. So when you have your conference, bring families, not individual people. Family conference. Families come together to learn about what we must do as a people. Yes, you have your hands up.
Yeah, something really important before we end this show. I just have to say it. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
One of the unere, banana.
Yeah.
That we have to let go of. Envy.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Let me explain myself.
Yes.
Envy. There's a lot of us in this fair that we are, quote unquote, woke, that we understand the plight of the African, and that we are at the cusp of fixing this problem so that we could become great again. So you have organization A, an organization B, an organization C, organization D, so on and so forth. And out of those organizations, there is one that is maybe outshining or coming up with ideas that, even though the other organizations are, quote unquote, woke and preaching the same thing regarding the emancipation of the African mind, they become envious of the shining star amongst them, as opposed to saying, we like what they're doing, How can we all work together
Yes.
to accomplish the same goal? See, we have too many generals in the battlefield, too many kings and no subjects. To me, that is the worst detriment on the African, even larger than Christianity, larger than Islam, larger than all these foreign entities that are just trying to choke us out, have us play according to their tune. Like Dibias just said, loan us money just so we could spend money on their stuff and the money goes back to them. So in the end, they didn't loan you any money. You are not giving them the money they gave you. You're not giving it back to them with interest. So they're making money off of you. They don't lose anything but gain from your ignorance of economic ramifications of borrowing all the time when you could do it for yourself. What is it that we're getting from foreign entities that we can do for ourselves as Africans if we truly understand the idea of cultural and economic revitalization of Africa? We have more resources than any other continent. What is it? Is it gold? Is it oil? Is it uranium? What is it that can be gotten out abroad that we don't have in Africa or have the capacity or capability of building for ourselves so that we don't borrow all the time? Do we really want change, or is it all talk? Can we cooperate with other organizations that have the same challenges as we have, that want to accomplish the same thing as we want to accomplish? Can we work together as one? Where do you stop the idea of tribalism getting into it? Where do you stop the idea that this organization is outshining you and now you're going to do whatever is necessary to bring them down? And one of the ways to bring them down is to not cooperate. Cooperative economics, cooperative politics. I just wanted to bring that up because I have seen a lot of organizations on Facebook, on the internet, within and without, that talk about the emancipation of the African, but there's this inability to work together. Listen, folks, if I get into a fight, first of all, I'm not going into a gunfight with a knife. And if it's a fist fight, the only way that I could throw an effective punch is to boil my fingers together so that I could strike. Those people that claim that they articulate the collective frustration of people of African ancestry are like this and refuse to come together to strike a mighty blow like Maya Angelou prescribed. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that is probably one of the biggest detriment to our opulence as people of African ancestry.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Dibias Monet, sorry.
Yes, I totally agree with Dibias, Uncle Yudi. We need to come together. One of the problems that we have right now, and I feel that I serve as a bridge because I deal with African American people and I deal with African people and I deal with people of the Caribbean and things like that. And I hear people's different perspectives. And a lot of times we make assumptions that one group does not like another group. I'll hear the African Americans say, well, the Africans don't like me. And I say, well, why do you think Africans don't like you as an African American? It's an assumption that they have, and vice versa. So the African to say, well, the African Americans don't like me, and the Caribbean. So it goes across the board and it keeps us separated. So we just don't deal with each other. I know that my mother-in-law, Nana Oshandara, Nefertiti, she was that bridge here. She was the bridge. And I really respect her for bringing the African people and the African American people. I've seen her do it, bring them together, and so we need those bridges. We need platforms like this that serve as a bridge to bring us in unity together, because we have these assumptions that the one group is against the other group. Mm-hmm. And that is what we have to stop. We have to stop it. We have to stop the foolishness. And like what I said earlier, we have to let go of offense, being so offended. You know, a person of another culture may have, say, I'm African American and I encounter an African person and they may have said something that I have taken as offense. Let's look beyond offense and let's think of the whole and collective, because a lot of times offenses, you're offended, but it's just a misunderstanding. It's not that that person has really offended you. Mm-hmm. And so we have to go beyond that, because if we're going to get what is owed to us, I am a big proponent of reparations. I feel that I'm here, that my ancestors, there's justice for the things that they have gone through. And not only them, whoever, all of African people, there should be justice. And what I'm figuring out, and that is through my nonprofits and dealing with government funding and different things like that. There's monies out there for us, but a lot of times people are benefiting from the suffering of our people.
Yes.
And the reason why they're able to benefit from the suffering of our people, to hand feed us what is ours, because a lot of these fundings is ours to serve our people. Why isn't our people serving our people? And that's the problem. I know with Dibias, Uncle Chiadozi was talking about the foreign aid. And with the foreign aid, you know, the reason why it's not working is because it's not coming from us. Why would they care to build anything for us and it's not even coming from us? What they're worried about is, okay, how much money I can put in my pocket? How can I keep these people suppressed to keep the money coming? It's sickening to me. I see it here, right here in Detroit. You have these people that are not Black that are benefiting from Black people. I went to a conference. This white woman brings up this disabled Black boy and has him to speak on behalf of her organization. And this is part of the funding. It was sickening to me, because you're using us and our suffering for your benefit. We are not able to come into their communities and do that. What Black organization or person has come into a white community and spoon-fed their community, has given them anything? What African nation has come into Europe, I'm talking about in current time, and has went to their poor children, their poor population, and said, we're going to take monies from the government to feed your people. They won't allow it, but we do. And it's because we won't come together. It's because we have all of these differences amongst each other that is going on. We're being taken advantage of. And until, just like Dibias Uncle Yudi says all the time, our minds are emancipated, we are totally blinded to what is truly going on. And we are wanting that aid to come in, not realizing that it is hurting our economies. The way that they're issuing the aid, they're not supporting businesses, good businesses that are existing in Africa. That merchant, that woman that is there selling goods, that has a small business, that may be able to utilize some aids in growing her business, which will help to grow the economy. They're not thinking of it. They're not doing it that way. But maybe if the money came into our hands, maybe we could do it that way.
Yes.
Benefit our economies as opposed to hurting our economies. Giving people how to fish opposed to giving them fish.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let me share right quick because we're running out of time. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. And I thank you, all of you that have joined us. But I just want to share this story right quick. We have about less than 4 minutes left. But when I wrote a grant, and I don't want to call the name of the organization that gave us this grant. This was a lot of money. And it took a team of grant writers to make this happen. Well over $25 million. That you talk about excitement. I mean, at that point, I thought, this is it. What else do you need money for, right? Until I started learning the details of these funds, what I'm supposed to do with these funds. It was about family planning in Africa, in Nigeria in particular. All right. The objective was to provide these condoms to Black men. All right. And then if that doesn't work, then there are these pills for the women to have. Well, it turns out, as I read about, these condoms that are banned in other countries because they are not strong, they're not good. So in effect, you want to put the trust in the minds of our Black men that this is secure, but it's not. And so to prevent women from getting pregnant, there's this pill that you're supposed to give them which sterilizes them. And I'm supposed to carry that to Africa? And there's all this money being thrown my way. Here, you can have this money, but you're going to have to provide men with things that don't work. And just in case a woman gets pregnant, you have to give her this. And this is family planning. People, what do you think that was? What do you think that was? Using me and people like me and organizations that are so hell-bent on getting these funds, they're not even thinking what are the consequences and ramifications of the money that you are taking. This is not only to make the men think that they are safe and get more and more women pregnant, but you will abort these children, and on top of that, sterilize the woman. Population control.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, even when I approached it and I said, am I reading this right? Oh, you know, it doesn't always happen. It could, but they might not. I said, well, I'm going to take, just by you saying that, I'm going to take it that it does happen. And my conscience will let me. I'm not exaggerating. My conscience will not let our team take that money. That's blood money. That's deceit. And I could live with myself. Some people may say, oh, you're trying to be all holy. Yeah, well, at that moment, I said, holy crap, not me. So in my mind, I'm seeing what some of these funds are doing to our people.
Yes.
We are sterilizing our people. We're doing all sorts of things. But the God in me said no.
Yes.
The God in me said no. Because what you're doing is going to be hurtful and damaging to your people. And at that moment, I thank Chineke to this day. Am I a millionaire today? Heck to the no. Oh, but spiritually, I'm all that and a bag of chips.
Yes.
Because I had the courage to say no to that kind of money. Not ordinarily, I would say yes, of course. But what it was supposed to do was not worth it. Not against, I don't care if it's against any race of people. I couldn't be a part of that. But just so you guys know, those are the kinds of funds that go to us. That has consequences, and we continue to participate in it. So yes, aid. Check and see what the aid is. That's why in our organization, Dr. Monet, we talk about having a collection of women, membership so huge that now you have access to the real deal, not the little bitty things that they give you and confuse you and make you become so vulnerable that you do anything. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wonderful, wonderful show. I hope you think so. Thank you all for joining us. And we are so much looking forward to, and if I may just thank akimebro, Ukunna Charles. Let's see, who do we have here today? Let's see, what's her name? We have One Piece Speed, Ikenga Thoughts, etc., etc. I call all of them because time is against me. But thank you all for being here today, and I hope that you will find it to go to our website, Chiism.org. Chiism.org is our website. Then go to African Spirituality ChiismLive and go ahead and register to become a member or subscribe to our channel. We're growing. We're almost at 400. Okay. From one something. Okay. So we're growing. So thank you again. Thank you very much for joining us, and we are looking forward to you joining us again. Yagazie to you, Kunna Charles. Thank you so much. And Otrajas, thank you so much. You guys were on fire today. Thank you. You did a fabulous job. I appreciate you. And on that note, hope to see you again next Sunday on ChiismLive.
Good one.